Hi everyone!
Hello!
Alex and JD here.
We tried to do a live stream, but something went wrong and it broke.
Technical difficulties, we're not sure. Probably my computer because it's kind of bad. But it's, between us, we've got like half of a functioning device.
Yes.
Between both of our laptops, your tablet, our phones, and your actual camera.
Yeah, so we're gonna do this a little bit differently to make up for our hashtag epic fail.
Hashtag muggle problems.
Muggle struggles is what someone
Muggle
in the
struggles.
chat said.
Hashtag muggle struggles. It sucks because we're not going to have your live comments right now.
And I've already heard JD's story.
Yeah.
So
the reactions were so good.
My reactions won't be as intense.
I think the attempt at the live stream will still be up.
Maybe it was patchy and missing chunks and the audio went out halfway, but let's start over. I'm Alex, this is JD. We're friends of the podcast.
Yep.
I do the merch, a lot of the illustrative design work. Any of their merch that has an illustration attached to it is, I think those are all mine.
Mostly.
There might be a couple that are other people, but most of them are mine. They're super, super fun to do. I love doing the art for Fanatical so much.
And I'm known in the community for my absurd predictions, apparently. Sequoia and Kim keep on giving me shout-outs because I wanted to see a fic with Cho, and then I wanted to see a fic with Ghost Cedric. So much that Erin from chat wrote a fic for me for this same competition, which is wild.
And it was so good.
We loved it.
It was so good.
Thank you so much.
It was so good. I
never thought I would be known for liking Cho and Cedric, especially as I don't really even like them. My point was, the reason I started doing that, by the way, was just because it felt odd to me that those topics hadn't been covered in any fics read on the show yet at the time that I started doing those predictions.
Yeah.
And then they did.
Cool.
So now we're going to read some different fics.
Now we're going to read some fics that were sent.
Sadly, no Cho or Cedric.
Yeah. They were sent to us by Sequoia. They were from the
writing competition that's going on right now. We're going to talk about that at the end. We'll talk about that at the end.
It's not going on right now.
Isn't it?
The writing competition is over. And these were submissions, or these were from the writing competition on Patreon. There were several points that each fic had to meet, such as it had to feature or focus on a Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw in Harry's year.
But not one of the main ones, whatever that means.
Just like a side Hufflepuff.
There had to be a song fic of some kind,
there had to be a song, and there had to be a teacup. So those were the parameters of the fics.
Yep.
And we have a couple that we're going to read to you.
Yeah, so I'm going to reread a story that I tried to read on the stream. It's a shame we won't get Alex's live reactions because they were so good. But it's probably worth re-listening to even if you tried to watch it before because of how patchy the audio was and everything, and to get the ending. And then Alex is going to read a fic as well.
Yeah. So you're gonna go first. To Woo a Weasley?
To Woo a Weasley by Jenny, aka Ginny from the block. Justin Finch-Fletchley walked out onto the Quidditch pitch as the Gryffindors descended on their brooms from practice on a cool and damp May afternoon. "Ginny!" Justin called, and he heard her groan as she dismounted close by. "Just thought I'd slither over and say hi."
Justin, why? Justin, why?
"Hi, Justin," she responded flatly, tapping her foot with impatience as the rest of her teammates headed for the locker rooms, some of them snickering loudly. Justin had been just stopping to say hi a little too frequently lately after she'd already made it clear she wasn't interested, and it was frankly quite annoying. "I was wondering if you'd like to meet up in Hogsmeade this weekend," he asked smoothly. It had taken all of his courage to finally ask her out. "No, I already have plans," she replied, turning on her heel and heading for the locker rooms before he had a chance to follow up. He sputtered for a moment, watching after her before he regained his composure and took his leave from the pitch. She must want to get to know him first before committing to an afternoon together. He'd been trying to find a way to woo her for months, but it was so hard to get her alone.
Sorry, I'm
And
not
where she
helping.
was, it was even harder to keep her there for more than a short cripple greeting. But his efforts were far from over. He knew, deep down, that they were connected, like someone had put a magnet charm on them. Justin was nearing the end of his 5th year at Hogwarts, and felt the time winding down to get her to see what was in front of her. He was a smart boy, top half of his class for sure, which he thought should be clear from his mediocre skills in the Dumbledore's army meetings. He felt he was at least in the 50th percentile when it came to looks as well. And he knew he had a great personality. He'd consider himself kind, loyal, and fair.
Those are Hufflepuff traits.
He might,
Which one of those are on my shirt?
just and loyal, patient, true, and unafraid of toil.
I got loyalty on my shirt. Kindness, patience.
But he was outspoken too, passionate. She just needed to give him a chance, and he knew he could win her over. But he also knew she'd become quite popular with the boys lately, as it had been rumoured that she was finally over her years-long crush on the boy who lived. She'd come into her own since her early years at Hogwarts, and now Ginny Weasley was a force to be reckoned with. She was bright, feisty, and quick-witted, and she was so much more than that. He hummed internally thinking about her, so he'd resolved to double his efforts and show her he was committed to exploring what they had. After dinner in the Great Hall that evening, the platters cleared and were replaced with coffee, tea, and desserts. Justin filled 2 teacups
Teacups.
with a lavender tea and stood with them, setting his sights on the Gryffindor table and sauntering over confidently. "Good evening, Ginny," he said, taking the seat next to her and sliding a teacup her way. Dean, who was sitting across from her, smirked and turned to talk with Seamus as Ginny sighed heavily. "Hi, Justin. I figured since you've got plans Saturday, I'd bring over a cup of tea to go with dessert tonight. We can get to know each other a little better. I know your stories would have me just coiled around your finger."
Damn it.
Coiled.
Yeah, okay.
"Sounds lovely, but I was just leaving," she said with a forced smile,
It's nothing.
standing and grabbing a biscuit from the platter before she turned and left the Great Hall. She'd been nice at first when it had started after the holidays. She didn't know him well, so when he started making an effort to talk to her, she thought perhaps he wanted to be friends, especially with his participation in the DA. But when it became clear he was romantically interested, she gently turned him down. Only he didn't get it. And now he went out of his way to find her. In the halls, after Quidditch, after dinner. Often after dinner, actually. He'd come over with a damn cup of tea at least once a week, like maybe this time it would garner different results. And she didn't even like tea! He'd find her in the library. He just happened to be in the owlery at the same time. And it was exhausting. She'd have been happy to be friends, and she knew he meant well. But how thick could he be? She knew eventually she'd just have to bluntly tell him to move on. But she'd been hoping for a while now that the not-so-subtle hints would do the trick. "Better luck next time, mate," Seamus said with a grin. "She's just busy, I'm sure," he said earnestly, getting up and returning to the Hufflepuff table. They'd shared such similar experiences when the Chamber of Secrets had been opened all those years ago. Ginny had been taken captive in the chamber, while he himself was petrified by the basilisk. When he'd awoken in the hospital wing months after his petrification, his first few blinks had been met with flashes of fiery red hair. As he'd come to consciousness, she turned her head towards him, shifting in her own bed that was placed next to his, and he'd felt a comfort wash over him in a way he'd never felt before. He was 12 at the time, of course, but he'd felt connected to her in that moment, a connection that only seemed to grow with time. And now, almost through his 5th year, he'd come to the realization that the connection wasn't just comfort, but love.
No.
True, blinding, punch you in the gut love.
No.
The only problem was that they'd never spoken more than a couple of sentences to each other until he'd begun his recent quest for her affection.
Go on.
There was a great comment in the chat from this point. Just like, because Voldemort stealing your soul and getting turned to stone, that's the same thing.
I did see that, yeah. They had a slightly different experience there.
His main tactic so far was to slyly remind her of the Chamber of Secrets ordeal, with references to the basilisk or being petrified, in hopes that it would rekindle something in her brain for her to also feel their connection.
That's the worst plan.
Although he'd left the hospital wing before she ever woke up, he knew she'd felt his presence. He talked to her whenever the room was clear and before his sleep potions took effect. He told her all about his childhood and the plights of being muggle-born at Hogwarts in his first year. He'd shared feelings and memories he'd never shared with another. And although she'd been sleeping, there had been a few times she'd mumbled something incoherent, and he knew it was her way of telling him she was listening. He'd mentioned to her a few months ago that they'd been neighbours for a few days in the hospital wing, and she'd nodded politely in acknowledgement before excusing herself to get to her next class. He assumed the memories of their time in that comfortable recovery period together were flooding back in that moment, and that it would only be a matter of time before she agreed to a date. The next day, Justin saw her a few paces ahead of him, heading for the dungeons. He had charms coming up, but figured he could be a few minutes late for the chance as another chat. "Ginny!" he called as he quickened his pace. He heard her mutter something and watched as she started walking faster as well. "Ginny!"
No.
He called a little louder.
Run, Ginny.
Practically at a run now as he caught up to her.
Get out.
"Stunned to see you at this time of day."
No. No.
Stunned.
Don't remind her of her trauma.
He grinned and she glanced over at him. "Sorry, running late. Justin, can't talk." "Of course!" He tried to laugh casually. "Look at the time. Have a great day." "Bye, Justin." She sped up again and he watched her go with a smile on his face. He loved how independent she was and how important her studies were to her. Gosh, he could go on for hours about all the things he loved about this girl. A few days later, he couldn't believe his luck. Ginny sat by the lake doing homework by herself as Justin wandered the grounds. He pulled a small radio from inside his robes. Something he'd kept there just in case he encountered her and walked over.
No.
"Ginny! Just who I was looking for!" He said as he took a seat in the grass next to her. She looked up with a stone-faced expression. "Justin," she sighed. "I had something I wanted to play for you," he said, turning the dials on the radio until it came in clearly. "It's a song from this Muggle singer, Aretha Franklin. There's this one part that always makes me think of you." He smiled as he set the radio in the grass, and the lyrics crooned from the speakers as Ginny stared at it warily. "At first I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side."
No.
Oh, and this one other song too, by an artist called Sir Mix-a-Lot. He turned a few of the dials again and a new voice permeated the air. "My anaconda don't want none unless you've got..."
No.
Ginny hit the off button on the radio a bit harshly as she realised he was making yet another reference to the Chamber of Secrets. You know, because petrified. He said with an endearing look. "And the snake? The snake?"
Mm-hmm.
"Look, Justin." Ginny tried her hardest to soften the expression out of her voice, the frustration out of her voice. The time had come. "I appreciate that you're obviously doing your best to show me attention." Justin opened his mouth to interject, but she held up her hand. "But it might interest you to know that I just started dating Dean. You seem like a nice boy. A bit overly enthusiastic and ill-directed, but I'm sure there is someone out there for you. Someone patient and kind and smart, but I am not the girl for you." "But we've shared such a deep life experience with the Chamber." "No, Justin. I don't even remember being in the hospital wing with you. I was literally possessed by Voldemort. Almost killed and then put into a deep sleep to recover. I see what you're trying to do and I'm sure in some way it helps you cope with what happened to you, but this is not going to happen. Please, move on."
Go off, Ginny.
Woo! She stood up, packing her things, as Harry, Ron and Hermione descended the hill to the lake. "But I..." Justin faltered a bit, trying to fathom how he'd missed that she was getting cozy with Dean under his nose. "Hi, Ginny," Hermione said. "Hi, Justin." Justin pulled his eyes from Ginny, and they landed on Hermione. carrying books, a kind smile on her face, and a welcoming aura surrounding her. I was just heading up to the castle, Ginny said, brushing past them all and stomping her way up the grounds, glad she'd finally said what she needed to Justin and ready to have some peace and quiet. Hermione watched her go before turning back to Justin, her hair blowing wildly in the wind. Is she all right? She's fine, he said, blinking a few times as clarity set in. It wasn't Ginny he was in love with, he realised as he pictured himself rolling over in the hospital waiting bed and catching a glimpse of brown frizzy hair from the bed on the other side of him. He smiled at the revelation. It was never Ginny. It was Hermione. It was always Hermione. All right, well, she's who we're looking for, so we'll just be, going? Hermione smiled politely again at him as they turned to head back up to the castle. Justin pulled himself back from his thoughts after a moment and jumped up. Hey! Hey, Hermione! Wait up! He called as he started to run after her. The end. Thank you very much, Jenny, aka Jenny from the block.
That was delightful. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's a playlist which hopefully will go in the description of this video that has all of the songs that were used in the submissions for the writing competition. And I was listening to it, and Baby Got Back came up and was playing, and I sent Sequoia a message, and I was just like, I need to know. This is driving me crazy. What is the context of this in a fic?
Yeah.
And now I'm really happy that I know. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Thank you for being such a lovely audience. Now, I've never heard the fic you're going to read before.
No, I get to read this. I can't do voices, so I'll be slightly less impressive.
But Justin!
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. That will not be the voice of my Justin Finch-Fletchley. Thank you.
Well...
my fic is called The Sign, and there doesn't appear to be an author attached to this document.
Credits to the author? Credits to OP?
But it's delightful and I love it, so thank you whoever wrote this. So, Justin, what are you doing for Valentine's Day?
Is it Ginny?
It was a cold morning the week before Valentine's Day when Hannah Abbott posed the question to Justin Finch-Fletchley. Gossip had been flying around the castle about which couples were attending Valentine's events and who was yet to snag a date. Unfortunately, a certain friend who Justin was hoping would ask him hadn't done so, and he was facing another Valentine's Day alone.
Just, all those many frequent Valentine's Day events they have at Hogwarts.
Mm-hmm. Nothing, Justin replied. I really don't have time to be worrying about dates. Stop lying, Hannah swatted his arm. You're as much of a hopeless romantic as I am. It's not like anyone is going to ask me, Hannah, Justin sighed deeply. This was quickly becoming as depressing as the rest of the year. No one's given a sign that they may be interested in me, and I don't want to ask someone who I'm going to be rejected by. Oh, stop moping. Hannah patted him on the shoulder. You're a good-looking bloke. Maybe someone will ask you.
Maybe in the top 50th percentile.
Justin snorted. He started to move away from the table and called back to Hannah. I'll be asked out for Valentine's when one of my friends does something muggle. A passage of time.
Oh.
He first heard the song on Sunday morning. I saw the sign. It opened up my eyes. I saw the sign. Justin yelped aloud, slamming his hands over his ears in shock and jumping as the music blared around him. It sounded as though a radio at full volume was being forced into his ear. He was familiar with the song. It was a Muggle one that his sister was a fan of. After a dramatic breakup with her boyfriend over the summer, she'd locked herself in her room and played it repeatedly for days, resulting in the tune being burnt into his mind. However, this didn't sound like a normal tune stuck in his head. It had almost burst his eardrums.
You thought he was imagining it?
His friends chose that moment to greet him. They walked over to him, looking slightly uneasy. Are you okay, Justin? Ernie threw him a concerned look. You having hallucinations about failing the owls as well? I realized I just needed more sleep. Susan elbowed Ernie sharply in the ribs, and he coughed loudly. The group seemed to reach a silent agreement not to ask any further questions. I'm okay, Justin plastered on a grin, trying to forget about the song. Do you want to go for a walk? The three of them nodded and they left the common room. After their walk, the rest of the day was spent doing homework, and Susan showing him up in an epic game of chess. Justin forgot completely about the song. A passage of time!
Oh.
There's a lot of time.
Yeah, there were no marked passages of time in my...
Yeah. It's okay, I got enough for both of us. The next time he heard it, it was towards the end of his Muggle study class on Monday morning. I saw the sign. It opened up my eyes. I saw the sign. The synthesized music blasted from nowhere. He crushed his hands over his ears. However, as quickly as the music started, it had stopped. He looked around the class, and thankfully only Dean Thomas, sitting beside him, seemed to notice the sudden movement. Did you hear that? He asked Dean quietly. Hear what? Dean looked at him as if he'd grown another head. Never mind, Justin muttered. He didn't want to tell Dean that he was hearing phantom Muggle music. Thankfully, none of his friends took Muggle studies with him and wouldn't follow him up on it.
Hold on. Justin takes Muggle studies.
It's an easy A.
Well, I mean, an A should be quite easy.
Oh,
do you mean an easy O?
You know what I mean.
An easy O?
An easy O. Easy peasy. Also, I bet it would be super interesting. I would take Muggle studies. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
What is Muggles from the wizard perspective?
Sure. As a Muggle, I don't think I'd want to know.
Anyway, thankfully none of his friends took Muggle studies with him and wouldn't follow him up on it. He really didn't need anyone to know he was hearing songs that no one else could hear. There's an ambulance outside.
Sorry.
He really didn't need anyone to know. I can't get through this paragraph. He really didn't need anyone to know he was hearing songs that no one else could. Deciding Ernie was right, he vowed to go to bed early tonight. That was a struggle of a paragraph to get through.
I don't know why, but okay.
I don't know why either. A passage of time. Unfortunately, sleeping failed to cure him of the bloody song. He heard it several more times at an increasing frequency and was becoming alarmed. Why was he hearing one line of a Muggle pop song at the volume of a jet taking off? And why could no one else hear it? Could he have been cursed by someone who knew his sister? What if his family were in trouble? The number of people who would know a Muggle song at Hogwarts wasn't high. He wasn't really close with any other Muggleborns and didn't think any of them would want to curse him. As he walked in the Great Hall for lunch, he conceded that he needed help. Spotting his friends, he decided to confide in them, hoping they could determine if this was malicious. "How was your morning, Justin?" Susan asked him, not meeting his eyes. He peered around the group to find that they were all staring down at their plates. Justin found this off-putting. "Fine, I suppose." "That's nice," Hannah said, lifting her sandwich to her mouth while still not making eye contact. This was veering into bizarre behavior territory. "Are you all okay?" Justin asked nervously. "There wasn't another Azkaban breakout, was there?" "No!" Ernie's head jerked up, just as quickly his eyes shifted to the wall behind Justin. Bewildered, Justin started serving himself lunch. First he was hearing imaginary music, and now he had to try and deal with strange friends? "So has anyone got a Valentine's Day date to Hogsmeade this weekend?" he asked, hoping this would start a conversation. Regrettably, at his question, Susan coughed mid-sip of her pumpkin juice and it came splurting out her mouth. "Susan, that's disgusting!" Ernie cried next to her, trying to wipe up the mess. "I have to go wash this off." He walked hastily out the hall and Susan rushed after him. Justin quickly made a decision and turned to Hannah. "Do you know anything about hearing music that no one else can hear?" Hannah's eyes darted around the room before finally settling on his own. "I've been hearing this Muggle pop song that my sister used to play, used to get over her breakup." "Wait," Hannah interrupted sharply, putting a hand on his wrist. "Breakup?" "Yeah." Justin was puzzled as to why this was the piece of information she'd latched onto. It's called The Sign, and it's about someone finally noticing all the things that went wrong in their relationship and ending it. Trust me, I had to listen to it enough over the summer. Do you think I should be worried about it? You've probably just got the song stuck in your head, Hannah answered quickly, brushing him off. It's not, Hannah. What if I've been cursed? What if it's you-know-who? Yes, because obviously you-know-who would use Muggle music to drive a person to insanity.
A random fucking kid from school as well.
Sounds very likely for someone who, hates Muggles. Hannah snapped bluntly and swung her legs over the bench, starting to leave the table. I'll meet you in herbology. A passage of time.
Ah.
I need a drink of water. Stall for a moment, I'm thirsty.
Wow. I deliberately didn't take a drink of water and just parched myself.
My tongue's all blunt.
Blunt?
The battery looks like it's dying.
Oh, good. Hurry up. Are we nearly at the end?
I don't know. It is a little bit more.
Eek.
By the end of the week, Justin found himself lying face down on a couch in the common room. A pillow was squashed over his head in both a feeble attempt to stop the song and spy on his friends. For the past 2 days, the line had played in his head hundreds of times, and his friends' behavior had made them prime suspects. He could barely concentrate and had become rather irritable from the lack of sleep. We have to tell him, Hannah's voice interrupted his thoughts. The song is a breakup song. He's never gonna get it. Justin whipped his head up from where it was hidden under the pillow, turning towards Hannah, who was standing with Ernie and Susan. You three are behind this, Justin shot at them, giving them the best glare he could muster.
What?
Explain yourselves now, I'm losing my marbles over here. His three friends glanced at each other before Hannah opened her mouth. You see, no, Hannah. Ernie cut Hannah off and looked Justin in his eyes for the first time in days. This is my fault. Can we talk, Justin? Ernie led Justin up the empty dorm room. Led Justin up their empty dorm room? Up to their empty dorm room and shut the door. Have you ever heard of Animo Canticum?
Did you read this story before recording?
Yes, but I never read Animo Canticum out loud.
Animo Canticum. Okay.
Canticum. Justin shook his head. It allows the caster to place a song in the mind of a person for a specific purpose. The song plays in their mind in growing frequency until they figure out what that purpose is. So you cast it on me? Justin's brow furrowed. But why? Hannah told me you needed a sign for Valentine's Day. Oh. There was a pause where the pair stared at each other. Ernie was blushing profusely and a small smile was forming on Justin's face. How did you find out about the song? Justin's smile grew even larger. I never thought you'd lower yourself to Muggle music for Merlin's sake.
Wow.
I was trying to make an effort, Ernie cried out. Besides, I was motivated by a comment you made to Hannah. I was hoping you would realize it was me.
Why? What was that to indicate it was him?
Well, technically it was the three of us, but the girls did it for me. Please don't be angry at them. We all felt so guilty after we cast it. You didn't answer my question, Justin was smirking by this point. Hannah helped me, Ernie confessed. You know she has Muggle cousins? They played her a song called The Sign, but she could only remember one line of it. So you charmed me to hear a single line of a Muggle love song that actually turned out to be about a breakup, and you wouldn't stop until I realized you cast it. I'm bad at reading off of screens.
Yep.
Justin raised his eyebrows. He had a good feeling about where this was going. Will you go with me to Madame Puttyfoot's tomorrow for Valentine's Day? Justin paused for a moment. He figured Ernie deserved some suspense after this week. Well, I did hear a sign. Oh, very funny. A passage of time! As Ernie and Justin approached Madame Puttyfoot's, they saw Harry Potter muttering to himself and angrily storming off in the other direction. Hope our date goes better than his just did, Justin quipped. Besides the location being as aggressively pink as Umbridge's office, the pair had quite a nice afternoon. They each had a cup of tea and nibbled at sweets while they chatted. It was an uncertain time for the Wizarding World, but Justin, being an eternal optimist, saw a future with Ernie alongside him. He thought that the future looked pretty fantastic. After they'd finished at Madame Puttyfoot's, the pair slowly strolled back up to the castle. I can't believe you chose a song you didn't even know all the words to, he chuckled at Ernie. Look, I was trying to impress you, and I had limited resources at my disposal, Ernie whined. In hindsight, it was not the greatest plan I've ever had. I'm glad you asked me, though, Justin confessed. He could feel his cheeks turning pink. Maybe you can come and visit me this summer, and I can play you the sign repeatedly and see how you... Ernie pecked Justin on the lips and pulled away quickly. Was that okay? Justin smiled and kissed him some more. A passage of time notated with 2 weeks later. Oh, Ernie said simply. Well, it's definitely a breakup song, Susan confirmed. I really should have listened to the words properly, Hannah conceded. But it's not like the two of you were offering up any suggestions. She narrowed her eyes at Ernie and Susan. Justin smirked at the three of them. You've only got about 100 more listens until you've listened as many times as I have, he said cheerily. He wasn't planning on lifting the charm anytime soon. You only had to listen to one line, Ernie burst out. That's not fair. This is your sign that if you ever charm me again, I will refuse to speak to all of you. Justin told them all before crouching down to whisper in Ernie's ear. Besides, I'll make it worth your while later. Oh. Ernie swallowed loudly and flushed red in response. Justin took his hand and squeezed it as the song started again in their ears.
Wizard sex.
I saw the sign.
My anaconda don't want none unless you got
Cool, our battery's dying on our camera, so we're gonna wrap this up super quick.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for watching. If you're interested in who we are as people or whatever, you can follow us.
Twitter. I am at Codename JD.
And I'm at Pachew, PTCHEW. I can't talk anymore, apparently.
So I'll finish off for us. We also do a podcast together at Sorted Pod on Twitter. It's Sorted, not a Harry Potter podcast, where we take pop culture and sort it into the houses of Hogwarts. Come and check us out.
If you like Harry Potter, it might be your thing.
We do, and many other things.
And many other things.
Our most recent episode, we sorted Yuri on Ice. And we sorted Pokemon, Avengers, Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, anything you can imagine.
So many things. That's our podcast.
Bye!
Thank you! Sorry our stream failed. We love you!
I like you as a friend.
Bye!
Bye!